It is 3:30 in the morning, and I just made coffee first. It's medium roast Arabica, and this is going to be my Audax spread. And this is the plan, to use the 6-speed Brompton T-bar, and hopefully we should be able to finish the Audax route coming end of January. So the goal today is to practice on the flats. So we're gonna have a 150-kilometer distance total ride. This is from Santa Maria, Bulacan, all the way to Gapan. Our goal is to reach Vegan, or Little Vegan, and take it from there. We should have an average of 27 kilometers an hour, so that we could have an average or maintain that 25 to 27. The route is pretty basic. You got your flatlands, probably a little bit of gradient here and then in San Miguel, but the route that we are going to replicate is going to be similar in Tarlac. And we have just reached the arc of San Miguel, Bulacan. A lot of cyclists and motorists usually stop here and take photos as you know, remembrance. You would see here, you know, still a couple of cyclists. See here a couple of cyclists taking photos. And I just got my new Insta360 Go 2 camera. I'm trying out some different angles so that you know, different perspective. And there's Mark over there using his 6-speed Brompton as well. And I'm still convincing him in joining the Audax route. Hopefully after this few days he would decide to join us. And one of the things you need to remember when joining a long distance event, or pretty much if you're just going to be traveling around, make sure that you prepare your bike. It's in tip-top shape, and you know, setting that aside, what I'm doing now is checking myself first if I would be able to endure the hours of riding. The target time for the Audax 300, sorry, is 20 hours as the cutoff time. I have chosen to use this bike because of the handlebar. The P-bar, I would say, is one of the best handlebars you're gonna have when it comes to long distance touring. You would have a lot of, you know, hand positions, and as you can see a while ago, that's like my semi-aero position, where I put my hand on top of the bar so that my hands could rest when holding the handlebars. Here you would see Mark maximizing the draft so that, you know, we can save a lot of energy when drafting with fellow cyclists. It takes a lot of experience to draft, because the only way you can maximize it if you're going to be, you know, close to the rider. The closer you get, you know, the better, because of the draft. You're going to be protected against the wind. However, if it's shorter or you're much closer to the rider, the bigger the risk when it comes to sudden stops. You won't be able to respond right away if that happens. So you have to be very, very alert. Another tip I want to share is, of course, wear comfortable clothing. So in this scene, a fellow cyclist saw us, riding together, and he was kind of curious. What is this 16-inch folding bike doing, riding at around 30 to 33 kilometers an hour? So he caught up with us and actually stared at Mark's folding bike, or his Brompton. And he looked for a couple of seconds there, staring. How is this bike reach this kind of speed? Especially the tires are small and the internal gear is kind of deceiving. You would think it only has 1 or 2 speeds. So after a couple of seconds, that cyclist, the young cyclist, actually followed and drafted behind Mark and looked at his bike, staring and probably confused. Why is this bike so fast? So he tried to ride along with us. He actually went forward, and I did tease him a little bit because I wanted him to see that it can actually go faster. So I think I was running at 40 kilometers an hour here, and then I left Mark for a couple of minutes there so that cyclist, I'm checking out if he's going to try to catch up as well, but I don't think he was able to catch up. And that gave me pretty high heart rate there, probably 170. Had to really pedal fast to probably 100 revolutions per minute. So one of my favorite positions when using this handlebar is right below there. It would actually replicate your position when it comes to riding a full-size road bike, and it's similar to holding the drop bars. This one's like similar to the air position. If your hand is tired, you can actually do that too. And we have just reached our destination, Little Vegan. You see here, these are the cobblestones. The voice that you're hearing in the background is actually mass. There's a church close by, early morning, and they're actually conducting mass. I've been to Little Vegan like several times now. So if you haven't visited, a lot of cyclists visit this place. It's pretty nice. You guys should check it out. If you are into the old houses, Spanish architecture during those times, this is the place to be. And after reaching our destination, of course, it's time to eat. It's time for some sustenance. Now we've ordered some vegetables, grilled liempo. Of course, in every Filipino table, you can't forget calamansi and soy sauce or toyo. And we had some sinampaloca sabaw soup. Awesome meal. So on this scene, I wanted to highlight the wind resistance. Now I know Mark is wearing loose clothing. I'm not saying it's bad, However, in order for you to reduce wind resistance, you can't wear clothing that's going to be flapping around. Well, if you don't have anything like that, well, you can compensate by eating a lot more. Cheers. And Mark is enjoying the food. Awesome. One important thing that you need to remember is that food is fuel. And without fuel, you can't go forward. So, going all natural is my recommendation. Meaning, eat plenty of carbohydrates, rice, you know, of course, there's the fluids, power bars, and those supplements will definitely help. But for me, this is my personal experience, nothing works better than the natural thing. It takes a while for it to kick in, especially the energy it's going to provide you. So after eating, try to go slow, steady. Make sure that you give yourself some time, or your body some time, to digest the food that you've just eaten. Eating often is best rather than eating one big meal. My rule of thumb is to eat every 50 kilometers, but at the moment we made a special exemption for this one. We ran 75 kilometers first before we had our first meal, because this is just a practice run. And as I have mentioned a while ago, this is my aero position so that we could minimize the drag that we are going to be getting from the wind. Minimizing drag is the best thing that you need to remember, because that would conserve a lot of energy. If you don't have anybody or a group to draft, it is best that you really tuck in there so that we could minimize the wind drag. Here we see Mark enjoying the draft behind me. He is probably 2 to 3 feet away. Sometimes it gets closer, sometimes it gets farther, but as much as possible, just try to stay close with the group. There's only me and him, so it's a very small group. The longer or the bigger the group, the better. One thing I've learned today, I'm actually using the stock saddle of Brompton. It's not really for me. Again, this is different for everybody. I would probably change so that it's going to be much more comfortable. I felt numbness on both of my legs, especially on my left. I had to stand up and try to release that pressure and feel comfortable. Moving your hands from time to time is definitely a must. There you see I'm holding the bottom part of the P-bar. Simulates the drop bars of the road bike. So on today's ride, I was able to realize that I really need to change saddle. It wasn't really comfortable for me. If I waited the last minute, that could have been a disaster. So this is part 1 of my preparation for Audax. And if you have questions, feel free to put in your comments. Thank you guys.